It's the real thing.
Everybody stand up if you ever had your back against the wall and had to fight back. It's your anthem. My view from the top of the moon. I can see the whole world sitting in my hand, a maze of the rules. We finna break the rules, and we gon' make them too. I can't fall asleep, I gotta stand tall, that's what a leader do. Follow me, I'm leading you. Hey, we finna turn up, crank up the heat in here, they finna burn up. Told them I'm coming, I'm here, tell them they time up. I said it once, I'ma say it again, this will be my year. I ain't gon' show no fear, I know that I'm built to a cool.
Oh my God, this is so amazing.
What's good, MP?
Did you see the dog park over there? I did. It reminds me. Where did you find your hamster? Oh, I
AMP. It's your world. We just live it.
They say revenge.
UK Sports. With our analysts Brent Barry and Grant Hill, this is Brian Anderson, along with reporter Allie LaForce. Here's a look at what's coming up for the Golden State Warriors. On Sunday, they'll take on Ben Simmons and the Los Angeles Clippers. Then on Tuesday, they'll go up against C.J. McCollum and the New Orleans Pelicans.
And that game against Houston, it's one that I'm curious about. It'll be their 6th contest of the season for them, and a game that should have a lot of great matchups.
All right, checking out Golden State's opening lineup. Curry and Pods make up the backcourt. Jimmy Butler out there with Green. And it's Peyton in at the 3, the small forward. And for Utah, Markkanen and Collins, the 3 and 4. George and Sexton in the backcourt. And it's Kessler in at center, filling out the middle. Well, if you followed MP on his path to the NBA, you know the one criticism of his game is that he can defer too often, Grant.
And at times, I think that's been a fair criticism. But you'd rather have him be trying to involve his teammates too much than not at all. People had the same complaint about LeBron early in his career, and that worked out.
Look here for Utah. Filipowski, he's checked in for Kessler. Collins comes in for Collins. And Clarkson subbed in for George. Collins against Kuminga. They set the screen. Oh, a nice shot by Collins.
Want to score in the NBA? Picks can really force the D to make tough choices.
And from the sideline, let's catch up with Allie.
Jimmy Butler's such an all-around player. He said, I don't need to be a 40-point scorer. My role is to impact winning. I just control what I can control in the end, play the right way, stay aggressive, and do whatever it takes to get my team the win. And Brian, he is good at his job.
Well, playoff Jimmy is a real thing, whether he'll admit it or not.
And so far, they've had the advantage on the boards.
Kuminga with a screen on Markkanen. Butler with the ball. Picked up by Sexton. Inside. Utah grabs the miss. 1:49 left in the first quarter. Kicks it out to Clarkson. Jacks up a three. Sinks the tray. It's all knotted up.
Clarkson draining one from deep, something he has to continue to work on. Stretch out the floor.
Butler against Markkanen. The fader. Collins with the rebound.
Well, he's just really struggling right now with everything he's throwing up. Nothing really helping out in terms of his confidence. I mean, these ones aren't even close.
Here's the pick. Pass to Filipowski. Back to Collins. Down to 5 on the shot clock. The Jazz need to get one up in a hurry. Here's Sexton. And unable to get the go-ahead bucket there. Now here's Moody. He's covered by Clarkson. Collins against Butler. Oh, nice fake, but the layup's off the mark. Utah's gone 4 of 6 from deep to start this game. Back to Collins. Markkanen. The rebound by Post.
This is a rough stretch right here for him offensively. Seems to be rushing shots.
To the paint. Here's Spencer. Back to Moody. Outside Butler. And he converts the layup. Butler's got 12 points in the game.
And he was dominant in their last outing. And the same thing here tonight. He is in a terrific groove right now.
Seems to be nobody standing in his way. No roadblocks for him to get to his spot, capitalize, and continue to be aggressive.
Jimmy Butler getting it done for Golden State. He made a big impact, scoring 12 points in the quarter. And more NBA action on 2K. And if you're just joining us, it's been a pretty even game through the first quarter. And for what we've seen here from the Warriors, what's your take so far?
It's simple. When you can protect the rim the way they have, it's a big advantage.
Yeah, you can't be careless with your shot selection out there because some of them are getting thrown back.
So on the floor for Golden State, Curry and Hield to the sharpshooting backcourt. Jonathan Kuminga is out there with Moses Moody. And it's Post in at the 5, roaming the paint.
Toughness there shown by Collins. Sexton, no stranger to having to out-muscle the defense from time to time.
You know, Grant, looking at the career of Colin Sexton, he had a huge third season, averaged 24 a game.
Yeah, B.A., and unfortunately, Colin hurt his knee early during his 4th year. Had season-ending surgery, but we've seen Sexton make a full comeback and just a dynamic scoring guard.
Sexton passes to Collins. Starting the second quarter, about a minute gone. Lets the three fly. It's rebounded by Golden State. Coming off a win against the Blazers.
You have to respect their ability to stay consistent away from home, keeping their cool and making quality shots.
Well, awesome to see in that last game how the motion in their offense didn't stop because they were in some hostile territory.
It's stolen by Curry. In transition, here come the Warriors. Moses Moody up strong for the jam.
Oh, very clever from Curry. They're attracting the defense and then just giving it away.
Collins outside. They set a pick. Down low. It's stolen by Curry. In transition, here come the Warriors. Pass to Heel. Outside Kuminga. Collins with the rebound.
He's as surprised as we are. Most nights that bucket is automatic.
Sexton with it. He's covered by Curry. And he ends that fast break chance. An intentional foul. That's a textbook example of the transition take foul rule. All right, well, a look at how the hustle game has been going for the Warriors.
Well, their hands resulting in plenty of steals in the early going, keeping the opposition there off balance.
And I don't know if everybody's getting in this block party flow, but that's what's happening tonight. They've done a great job of being aggressive on all the shooters.
Here's Clarkson. And another miss by Utah.
And even though he couldn't send the shot back at him, he certainly altered it.
Yeah, that's the kind of energy that you want to see on every possession throughout the game.
Jazz trail by 7. Pass to Hendricks. Here's Filipowski. And here's Clarkson. Just 5 on the clock. Collins a screen. And it's Clarkson missing.
Clean look from mid-range. Coach will probably want to run that play again.
Here's Moody. It's stolen by Clarkson. To the middle to stop the run. And he goes in for the dunk.
And we think of Clarkson often as a scorer, but there, making the unselfish pass, just great work.
The Warriors lead by 5. Curry with it, picked up by Sexton. Pass to Kuminga, lets it go from deep. That drops, and it comes off an assist from Curry. Curry's got 4 assists now tonight.
He's finally leaving that dismal first quarter behind him. Took him a while to get going.
Collier, he's checked in for Utah. Green's checked in for the Warriors. Pajemski comes in for Santos. Now here's Collins. Pass to Collier. Back to Collins. Pulls it. No good off the glass. Golden State has gone 1 of 2 from deep in the second quarter. To the inside. Grant, when you look at Draymond Green's career, you think he's going to the Hall of Fame?
You know, B.A., I believe so. He's won multiple titles, and we know how impactful he has been as a defender and distributor especially. I think we'll see him in Springfield one day.
That free throw no good. And let's talk about Draymond Green for a moment. Certainly one of the most outspoken players in the league, Brent.
Well, Draymond has never held back, whether he's talking about his opinion or the way that he sees the game, which is remarkable and a revelation to his intelligence as a defender on the floor. Draymond Green has been special on the defensive end throughout his career.
Collins outside. Collins outside. Here's Clarkson. Kicks it out to Collins. Now Collins. And we've got a timeout call. by Will Hardy. Coach wants to speak to his guys, maybe alter some of the game plan. Right here, the 2K leaderboard shows us which teams made the most of their second chance opportunities last year. Number 1, the Jazz. 5th on the list, the Warriors.
Right here, these two teams really cashed in on the offensive glass, creating extra points out of nothing.
Well, we have a chance to hear from Shams Charania. He's calling in right now. Shams, great to have you on, bud.
Thanks. Many consider this summer to be the most challenging field in the history of international basketball. Nevertheless, Team USA got it done in Paris. It's not getting any easier, but the star power of the U.S. men's team shined bright in the City of Lights. Guys, a classic ending for a stacked U.S. roster.
What a performance. Shams Charania with the report. Thanks, Shams. And both free throws good for Collins. You know, not too many teams have the stability at head coach as the Warriors have had, Brent.
Well, I'm not sure there's ever been a more perfect fit for a team than Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors. It has been a magical run in the Bay Area, and you just look at the type of connectivity he has with his players, and again, how much joy these Warriors play with.
There's the drive, and the foul called on Draymond Green. That's his 3rd foul of the game.
Yeah, looking up at the scoreboard, guys, that's his 3rd foul, and his coach has to consider now sitting him down.
Jimmy Butler's checked in for the Warriors. Payton comes in for Moody.
How about the focus? Steph going on the inside, has great numbers as a finisher.
And Grant, once again, Stephen Curry hit 300 threes last season. Man, he's in a class of his own.
Well, there have been 7 300-plus three-point seasons ever. Stephen has 5 of them. He has the only 400 three-point year ever. So, yeah, B.A., Stephen has created his own class.
Brent, you could hit the 3 back in your day, and no doubt, Stephen Curry is the best three-point shooter in league history. What makes him so good from deep?
To me, B.A., it comes down to the way that Steph goes about his habits in practice. If you ever watch footage of him in pregame warm-ups or in the offseason, there is so much variability in what he does in terms of preparing his feet and hands to shoot the basketball. There's no one that practices the way that Steph does, and there's no one that produces the way that he does either.
Grant, a big reason for Utah to be excited about the future. Their young head coach, Will Hardy.
Yeah, B.A. I mean, he's had this team competitive after trading away both Mitchell and Gobert. And I love how Hardy has developed guys like Lauri Markkanen.
And Butler giving you the full buffet of the things he can do.
Jazz trail by 11. And here's Collins. He's got 5. Ooh, poked away. Out of bounds, it'll go to the Warriors. And a chance to catch up on some numbers here. The hustle stats for the Jazz.
Well, their length and anticipation reflected in their shot blocking totals, making the extra effort to close things out.
Well, they've done a great job tonight of getting out in transition, so that focus on fast break, that'll add to your total in a hurry.
Free throw is good from Collins. Well, the Jazz are one of just 10 NBA franchises to never win a championship, Grant.
Yeah, you know, it's so hard to believe considering they had the 4th best winning percentage in NBA history. Think about it. If it weren't for one Michael Jordan, they'd probably have 2 rings.
And there it is for him. Collins has got 7 points.
And off the jump, they were effective from deep. I don't know why they haven't continued to fire from out there.
Pass to Butler. Payton against Sexton. And there's a pick. Here's Kuminga. They still need this. Hits the trifecta. He's got 14.
flat out taking the game over, and there's no way he's going to give it up.
George passes to Collins. Oh, plenty of contact on that shot. Officials call the foul, and he'll take 2 free throws now.
The defense there doing whatever they can to protect the rim.
And the second free throw is good. George against Payton. Pass to Butler. 1 second left. Oh, no good on the last second attempt there. And the first half comes to an end. We've got a close game going here. The Warriors on top, up 5. And join us right back here after the break for the start of the second half.
Come one, come all. The 2K halftime is here, and so's our breakdown of the upcoming schedule. Let's check.
Well, looking at the Warriors, they started the season on a high note. Now they look to improve to 2-0.
Yeah, they look strong in that first matchup. Played with a lot of energy. We'll see if it carries over into this one.
And now let's talk about our featured game. It was a solid first half for the Golden State Warriors.
Well, one stat in their favor is the one they haven't been racking up, turnovers. They've been very precise with the ball movement.
Like a well-oiled diesel machine.
This from the man who averaged more turnovers than assists in his career. Enough said.
No, that's not true.
Thanks for tuning in.
And in that first half, we saw a pretty tight battle. We'll soon find out what sort of adjustments were discussed during halftime. Substitution here for Utah. Filipowski, he's checked in for Kessler. Collins comes in for Collins. Clarkson's checked in for Sexton. And it's Collier in for George. Here's Collier. No made baskets yet. Markkanen with a screen on Kuminga. Collins passes to Markkanen. Nice touch inside there from Markkanen.
Markkanen's job is to make himself available in the pick and roll. That's a nice cut after setting the screen.
Collier is out there with Jordan Clarkson. Then it's Lauri Markkanen. Then it's Filipowski. And it's Collins in at the 3. That's the group for Utah right now.
And staring at a sizable deficit, the defense has to tighten up.
On the wing, Clarkson. And they immediately answer back with a dunk on the other end.
Yeah, Jordan Clarkson bringing it up to the 10.
The Warriors lead by 9. Time now to hear from our reporter, Allie LaForce.
Brian, the Warriors play a unique style predicated on passing and cutting off the ball. Stephen Curry said the main goal is to just force the defense to make as many decisions as you can. So with all that ball movement and body movement, they're going to mess up at some point. Brian?
Well, it helps having a weapon like Stephen Curry. Thanks, Allie. Clarkson outside. Off target with the 3. The Warriors shooting around 45% since the break. And he gets it to go off the front iron. Butler's got 11 points in the quarter.
D has been just completely helpless and turned around. He's so dangerous when he's in this kind of rhythm.
Collins with it. Give him 8 points now. 5 to shoot. And they'll turn it over. Couldn't get the shot off. A shot clock violation. The Jazz making a switch here. Hendricks is checked in. A minute 53 left to play in the third quarter. Butler surveying the floor. So it'll be 2 free throws. He was fouled in the act of shooting. Now well into his 30s. Is it fair to start wondering how many seasons Jimmy Butler has left, Grant?
Well, it's a fair question, B.A. But at the same time, Jimmy's hunger is just so different than everybody else's, which I could see helping prolong his career.
Butler hits them both. Brent, you think about Jimmy Butler. Great in the regular season, even better in the playoffs.
Yeah, extremely tough. I mean, he has grit and resilience, but tough-minded in the toughest moments, and that's where his teammates rely on him. Jimmy Butler shows up big come playoff time.
All right, guys, what do you think about the offensive approach we've seen so far for the Warriors?
Their offensive game plan has been simple. Look to shoot it often from outside the arc, and the results have been outstanding.
All game long, they've just done a great job of keeping the pressure on the defense and penetrating with the pass. They've gotten everything inside, and they've converted there.
One thing this Golden State team does very well is control the offensive glass, Brent.
Well, there's been a lot of talk analytically, BA, about how advantageous it is to come in and swoop through to grab offensive rebounds. Golden State has bought into that philosophy. They also have guys who take a lot of long shots. So that's long rebounds with a better chance of gaining an extra possession. So some smart analytical play here from Golden State in the past couple seasons.
And he gets it to go.
They don't call him Jimmy Buckets for nothing.
Jazz trail by 17. Pass to Collins. We've got 1:08 left in the third. Just 5 to shoot. Well, there's the shot clock violation. So they'll turn it over. And with this pause, a check on the stats to show you which teams led the league in assists last year. The Warriors, 4th.
You take a quick look at their assist totals from last season, and it's really impressive. A direct product of the disciplined, unselfish culture that this franchise represents.
Right side, Kuminga from outside the arc. Utah with the rebound.
Not his best night from the field, but looking for other ways and finding them so he can chip in.
Collins against Kuminga. It's intercepted. 9 seconds separating the shot clock and game clock. Outside Butler. Puts up a 3. And there's Kuminga. That one's good on the assist by Butler. Kuminga's got 17 points. Here's Collier. Still no points. And there's the screen. Looking to end the run. Oh, deflected. Butler with a steal. The shot, no good. At the end of the third quarter, a huge lead. This one may have already been decided. Warriors ahead, running away with this one. All right, we're going to step aside for just a second, but join us right back here for the start of quarter number 4 next. And it's time to bring up the State Farm assist of the game.
And I'll tell you what, this was a no-brainer tonight. Take a look at the precision on this feed. Couldn't place it any better.
Well, there's a way to break down the defense with the handle, but you can do it with the pass. Prime example of that right there.
And with the fourth quarter upon us, time is running out for this game to become competitive. On the floor for the Warriors, they've got Stephen Curry. He's out there with Moody, and it's Knox in at the power forward position. Hendricks. And a miss there on the triple.
And he almost made them regret defending him so loosely.
Shoots it from the corner. It's rebounded by Hendricks.
Every player goes through this. When your shots aren't going down, it can ding your confidence.
Here's Collier. He's covered by Curry. It's rebounded by Golden State. Pass to Kuminga. And Kuminga throws it down.
Yeah, Kuminga is a guy who does not back down. In fact, he tries to go through you.
Clarkson outside. Nice D from Moody. The Warriors lead by 22. Out left to the wing. Fires for three. Knocks down the triple. Knox has gotten himself on the board with a three there.
This is what it's been since halftime. Remarkable results from downtown.
Yeah, pretty infectious right here. Guys in good spirits, and percentages from downtown on the rise in the second half.
Pass to Hendricks. And he can't bank that one in. The Warriors have gone 2 of 3 to open the fourth quarter. Moody from outside. And the Warriors with another three.
They've been very well-rounded and extremely focused.
Coaching staff probably most proud of the effort of this team on both ends of the floor here tonight.
And Utah calls time here. Jackson Davis is checked in for the Warriors. The Jazz have got none of their shots to go in this final quarter. 0 for 4. Pass to Collier. And we're about 2 minutes into the fourth here. They set the pick. They need this. And a foul called on the way up. So he'll take 2 from the free throw line. It's on Stephen Curry.
Well, that was clearly a foul.
You know, Grant, we've seen career performances in the play-in tournament, but the stats don't count for regular season or the playoffs.
You know, that's crazy, B.A. So let's just count them as playoff stats. It used to be only 3 rounds instead of 4, so there is a precedent to adding more games to the official postseason.
He misses the free throw. And when you look back at the 2023 draft, the Warriors got great value out of their picks.
Yeah, I mean, they got Pajimski with the 19th pick, a versatile player who impacts the game at both ends. And they also got Trace Jackson Davis late in the second round. And he is a fundamentally sound big man with great upside.
And he's good on the second. And we're about 2 minutes into the fourth now. To the middle. Here's Moody. The rebound by Filipowski. Filipowski's got rebound number 5 here tonight. Inside. And the 10-footer finds the target. Here's Curry. We're in the fourth quarter here, just under 2.5 minutes gone by. And the basket by Heel.
And their strategy is obvious. Manufacture looks from outside the arc.
And I don't know how they keep doing this, but every time down, the resulting possession ends up at the three-point line, and a fairly efficient shot attempt at that.
Now here's Collins. Moody defends. Shot clock at 6. Here's Collins. Moody defends. And there's the shot clock violation. Couldn't get the shot off in time. And the NBA has made a significant investment in the G League over the years. Grant, you can really see the impact it's had.
Yeah, BA, and it's grown into a real minor league for the NBA. The NBA needed something like that for a long time, and it's helped the product.
Podziemski's checked in for Heel. The Jazz have gotten only 1 of 5 to fall here in the 4th. Here's Clarkson. Plenty of room to knock down that one. Clarkson's got 9 points now in the second half.
Well, Clarkson doing his best to keep that mid-range jump shot from dying off.
There's a screen. Curry with it, and Clarkson picks him up defensively. To the left wing, and here's Kuminga for 3. Clarkson grabs a miss.
Well, that's not a shot he's ever going to pass up, and he shouldn't. Despite the miss, no defender anywhere near him. He's got to shoot that one.
He hits again. 7 for 13 and looking confident.
Oh, boy, the touch is coming back here in the second half. Percentages from the field much better than it was at the break.
And a deep 3 from Curry. Utah grabs the miss. Filipowski's got 6 rebounds in the game. Right wing. Pass to Hendricks. The 3-ball. Podziemski grabs the board. Golden State has gone 3 for 5 from three-point land since the end of the third quarter. Now here's Kuminga. Three-pointer. Pure from three-point range. Kuminga's got 5 points now in the quarter.
12 straight points off threes. This defense is not extending very well.
Here's Clarkson with the drive. Good. And that basket makes him 8 for 14 for the game.
Disappointing as a player to have such a great game and still be trailing. Not over yet, though.
Moody, good.
Not sure which clips they watched at halftime, but he has figured out how to attack the D, and they kept him in check in the first half. He's flipped it.
Now here's Clarkson. He's guarded closely. From about 19, Kuminga pulls it in. Kuminga's got his 4th rebound in this one. Moody passes to Curry. Moody with it. Launches it. Clarkson grabs a miss. Collins outside. Grant, some rookies come into the league with a ton of hype. You've lived through that. How does it affect a young player?
Well, BA, it can be overwhelming, and certainly it's a lot to endure. You're the focus of so much attention, and there are so many expectations. And with all the media these days, it's even more magnified and intense.
And they turn it over. Shot clock violation as the buzzer sounds. And some changes here for the Warriors. Santos has checked in for Podziemski, and Spencer's subbed in for Stephen Curry. Here's Spencer. George defending. Pass to Kuminga. And Kuminga throws it down.
Yeah, keep feeding Kuminga here until you see the drop-off.
And so it's George with it. He brings it up for Utah. Here he goes. Warriors with the rebound. Post has got his 8th rebound here tonight. Here's Santos. There's the triple. Drills it from deep. Santos has got his first bucket of the game, and he's on the board for 3.
This defense just can't stay connected to shooters.
George finds Collins. Clock at 6. And the shot clock expires. 24-second violation.
Golden State ball.
Markkanen's checked in for Collins.
Wearing number 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23, 23,
Here's Spencer. Pass to post. And so Golden State takes this one, and by a big margin. This one wasn't even close. The hometown crowd was waiting for a miracle that never came.
Yeah, and this team was consistent throughout. They met every challenge, and they earned this dub.
And that about wraps it up. For Brent Barry, Grant Hill, and Allie LaForce, this is Brian Anderson. Thank you for watching this 2K Sports presentation of the NBA. We'll see you next time.
Just got to tighten up and get them next time. got to tighten up and get them next time.